Hi there, my name is Kendrick, and today I get to have Virsaviya back. So welcome back.
Hi, it's good to be back.
Yeah, so Virsaviya, can you please tell everyone what your full type is?
Yes, I am an ESFP in original Myers-Briggs, and then in ops, double masculine, SEFI, consume, sleep, blast, play last.
All right, cool. And then I'll ask for your social type later on, so just leave it as a surprise for now. Um,
Okay.
so Virsaviya, what has been your journey like working on that SETE double masculine play last of yours since we last spoke, which I think was like 3 or 4 years ago?
Yeah, it was before the pandemic. That's a good question. And ever since you first reached out, I've been thinking about that. Um, and it's been an interesting journey, in large part because right around probably 2018, 19, right around the time we probably did our interview, I started looking into whether or not I have ADHD, and it turns out I do. And so for me, uh, ADHD has this like reputation of being like, the EP attention, like double activated play, woo, let's go kind of reputation, right? But there's a lot more going on in an ADHD brain than that. And one of the big things is difficulties transitioning between tasks. So, like, if you're doing one thing, you just keep wanting to do that thing, and transitioning to the next task is hard. So, for me, these past couple of years, it's been hard to extricate what is play last and what is ADHD, because having like consume sleep as the saviors and then blast play as the demons, and that line in the middle, it's hard to transition. Like if I'm in consume sleep, then I just don't move. And if I'm in blast play, then I go, 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 and I don't stop because I know the second that I pause, I won't start again. And the won't starting again, I don't know how much of that is the demon blast play and how much of that is ADHD. But these past couple of years, I've been working the most on that, like ADHD and getting myself moving and doing, regardless of whether it's play last or not, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes 100% sense. And it also makes 100% sense because this year I also got diagnosed with ADHD and I'm like almost 40 and I just got diagnosed for it. So what kind of ADHD do you have? Because there's three kinds, right? So which one do you have?
Oh, I definitely have inattentive, which is one of the reasons it went unnoticed for so long. And also having consume at the top means that like I can, especially as a kid, I could sit through a 3 hour lecture, no problem. Right. And so ADHD was just never thought. But like I have the way I think about it is the inattent, like an ADHD brain is looking for stimulation, right?
Right.
And the more like traditional, typical ADHD hyperactive looks for stimulation in their external environment, whereas inattentive ADHD looks for a stimulation in their internal environment. So, like with that double activated sleep, my head just does not fucking stop. It's just always go, 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 which is why like falling asleep is really hard, or just shutting my head up.
I really related to what you said earlier, where like you can't when you get going, you can't stop because if you stop, it's gone. So I that happens to me too. So I totally related 100% to that. And maybe it's part of being info dominant too, which is bad with the energy thing. Because like
Yeah.
stop go thing is hard. And a lot of play last people are also doing what the sleep last people are doing, which is like crazy just amount of work, and then they won't stop because they also know if they stop,
Yeah,
this
because
window of productivity is gonna go away.
yeah, I was thinking about it last night, like in terms of like, oh, I wonder what it would be like, there are times when I wish I was double activated play and sleep last instead of, play last and double activated sleep, because there's this like story in my head that it's a lot harder to get moving than it is to slow down. But when you think about it, like, whether if you're driving, whether you're accelerating or decelerating, it's still going to require energy.
Right.
So like whether you're sleep last or play last, it's still going to be fucking hard to slow down or start up, whichever it is. Like our use of energy is just going to be very inconsistent, especially compared to the energy dumps.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we're not gonna be the best at it compared to those guys. At least our information is gonna be more accurate at least. So we'll take that as the consolation prize. Uh,
Yeah.
it's interesting though that you got typed as inattentive with ADHD because I think a lot of women have inattentive, and I think my girlfriend also has inattentive. She's not officially, but it's kind of obvious that she has something.
Yeah.
And I spoke to my psychologist about it, and he said to me that people with ADHD tend to date each other also. So
Yes, it's one of the
uh,
things that
and
neurodivergents tend to date each other in
yes,
general.
yeah. And then when so you have inattentive, I have the mixed type. I have both, and I think it's because it's blast play, hyperactive, sleep
Yeah.
consume inattentive, and I swing between both. So that's why I think I have both. And you might, and it's kind of crazy. You only have inattentive because you have that crackhead to mope kind of like swing, right? Because you're a mope first and you swing to crackhead. So it's like,
Well, I actually don't know if it's only inattentive or if it's combined. I never dug into that aspect of things. My diagnosis was like half-assed, sort of like I didn't have a proper neuropsych evaluation or anything like that. It was during the pandemic, and I got my prescription for Adderall, and I just like right now I haven't been taking my regular prescription, and I can feel the difference so much. And it's one of those things where like I look back on my life, I'm like, how did I find success for 30 years of my life without this? Like, how was it that I managed to function at all? It's kind of amazing. And it's also like, I wonder for you, like, has it been extremely validating to like learn that you have ADHD? And it's kind of like, oh, so this is why I've had the challenges that I've had, and why it feels like the people around me don't have those same challenges.
yeah, I mean, I've always been a hard worker, but sometimes I get accused of um, you know, losing focus. And I've always thought, like, what's wrong with me? How come I can't do what like these other people are doing, where they just sit there all day and they're focused at their work, and then they go home, and I'm like, man, it's so hard. And yeah, definitely felt validated when I got the diagnosis. I didn't get a full psych evaluation like you did as well. It's just my psychologist said, you probably have ADHD, Kendrick. Like, I can tell you have something for sure. And then he sent me to like an ADHD clinic, and then it was like it's kind of like a half-ass evaluation, but my
Yeah.
psychologist also validated that I definitely have ADHD. So it's not like I mean, one day I'll do the full evaluation. It was just really expensive. I don't want to pay for it right now.
Exactly, exactly. And insurances won't pay for it because the second that you do a neuropsych evaluation, you have conditions potentially that they then have to pay for
Right.
to treat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's fine. I'm cool with it. As long as but it's kind of interesting though. So were you taking your Adderall on a regular interval? Because I tried Concerta and Vyvanse, and Concerta, I felt
It's
like,
considered Adderall, Ritalin. What is it? I'm not
no.
familiar
So
with
there's
Concerta.
many kinds of ADHD meds, right? So Adderall
Yeah.
is for inattentive, Concerta is for hyperactive, and Vyvanse is for mixed type. And I've tried Concerta because at first they thought my psychologist thought I only had hyperactive. But then later on, when I went to that ADHD clinic and they said I have mixed, um, I tried both meds to see which one would feel better. And the Vyvanse, the one for the mixed type, felt like, oh, this one is actually more. It felt more natural than the
Yeah.
Concerta. So I was able to have a cleaner focus without a lot of the bad side effects that it comes with the meds. I mean, I still do, which is the bad sleep, but that's why I don't take it every day. I only take it like once a week maximum, or twice a week. But what about you? Were you taking it on a regular basis? Because I feel like you know what I don't like about taking a regular basis, Virsaviya, is you said that you function without it for 30 years, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to get like dependent on something to function. I want to be able to function without it. So I kind of,
What do you mean?
if I really need it, like today's gonna be a bad day, I'm gonna do a lot of SI, which I freaking hate. Uh, this is when I pop that thing, because this is that, and I lump it all in 1 or 2 days where I have to do all the SIs. I just shove it on the 2 days, pop that Vyvanse, bam, 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 and then the other days I can function without it. So what's your experience been like with that?
I started out similarly, but as I've learned more about ADHD, so for example, this is one of the things that's really interesting. Like I've had insomnia for as long as I can remember, like since I was a teenager, sleep onset insomnia. Like I will go to sleep at midnight and sometimes not fall asleep until 5 a.m. Like it gets really, really bad sometimes. And as I've dug into it and learning about inattentive ADHD, so what happens is I go to sleep and my brain wakes up and it's looking for that stimulation internally, right? So my brain just doesn't stop. So in order for me to be able to fall asleep more typically or more easily, the ADHD needs to be treated, right? But the conventional wisdom is like no caffeine 8 hours before you go to sleep, no stimulants 8 hours before you go to sleep. And I look around at my friends, and I have those friends who'll have like an espresso at 11 at night and they go to sleep no problem. I'm like, yeah, you ADHD motherfuckers, I see you. So it's kind of the same thing in the sense that like, so the like conventional wisdom, or like a more stereotypical kind of situation, is that you need the medication to be productive, right? But ADHD is impacting my life in so many other parts, like falling asleep. So I've played around with taking Adderall an hour before going to sleep to see if it helps. And there's actually like some psychiatrists have started prescribing that for insomnia. And it's like kind of against the conventional wisdom. But they're finding, I think, about like it's effective for about, I think, 1 out of the 3 patients that they suggested to, something like that.
So are you
So all of
are
that is
you
to
are
say,
you are you one of the 3 then?
I play around with it. Right now I can't play around with it because I'm having like a hard time getting my prescription, so I don't have the spare, the spare pills in order to play around with it like that. But there are times when it has helped for sure. I have looked into, I think we've gotten off topic.
It's
I've
fine.
looked into Strattera, which is a non-stimulant medication, and it works kind of more like an antidepressant in the sense that like it'll take 4 to 8 weeks for it to build up in your system before you can really start seeing the benefits. And it's not like Adderall where you take it, it lasts you for 4 or 8 hours, and then it's out of your system. Like the Strattera slowly builds up, and so it's like a continuous treatment rather than ad hoc treatment.
Yeah, got it's okay if we go off tangent because we're both
Oh,
observers and obviously we're gonna talk about things, right? Like we're gonna talk
yeah,
about people, you know.
of course, of course.
Like,
Oh,
oh shoot.
sorry.
Uh,
My cat decided to knock this over. Hold on just a second while I.
sure, yeah, no worries. Um, it's kind of mentioned. It's funny you mentioned about the bad sleep because for me, I went to a sleep clinic also and I got diagnosed with sleep apnea.
Yeah,
So
same, but I don't think I have sleep apnea.
and then I'm using a CPAP machine now. My sleep's so much better. So
Oh, really? That's awesome. I'm so glad to hear that.
yeah,
That-
so
that's
it's
perfect.
kind of interesting how like there's like a lot of stuff you can use to work with it, and the sleep apnea comes from the ADHD, which is so annoying, you know. Like
So one of the things that's interesting, my nephew, he's 4, and I've been pretty sure he has ADHD for at least 1 or 2 years now, and I've been encouraging my sister to get him diagnosed. And the last time that they came to visit, I noticed that he was kind of like, he had apnea events while he was sleeping. And apparently in children, untreated apnea looks very much like ADHD. It's the exact same symptomology. So I think that's just like a really fascinating overlap because actually I do know quite a few people with ADHD and also sleep apnea.
yeah, oh my god, it's just like one thing after another. But you know what? Once you get the handle of it, I feel like it's like, oh, life's so much better. Now I can work with all this stuff.
Right? When your brain works the way you want it to.
And I don't see ADHD actually as like a disease or something. I see it as a superpower because I feel like the ADHD has given me creativity that I think that I wouldn't have if I didn't have ADHD. So I see it as a positive thing. I know some people see it as like a hindrance, but I don't see it in a hindrance way at all, actually. I just see it as this is the cards I was dealt with when I was born.
Mhm.
And if it's like playing video games, you build a character, there's different stats that you can put to different attributes. And I just have
Yes,
more,
of course.
mine's just like more lopsided. So
Yeah,
uh
yeah, yeah.
yeah, so I,
That's
I don't
awesome.
see it as a bad thing at all. So what has your experience been like with that and being like a consume sleep blast play, but like sleep apnea, not sleep apnea, sorry, but like ADHD. What has your experience been like in terms of like creativity and superpowers? Because you've mentioned the downside of it, but like what superpowers have you derived from it, would you say?
Well, so it's been interesting because the hyper focus is definitely like in a lot of ways it's very much a superpower. Like being able to sit through a 3 hour lecture without any issues, like that got me through, what is it, 22 years of education, right? Like all the way through college because I could sit through a lecture without a problem. On the other hand, I never did my homework. So like while I could have been an A student, I was a B student because I never submitted any of the assignments. So like that's definitely the hyper focus is definitely like a superpower. I also think that um at least in the case of like in my case, there's such a high comorbidity between ADHD and depression. And in my case, I know that when my ADHD is out of control, the depression gets worse, and they are very closely tied together. So in my case, I don't think it would be true to say that it's more of a blessing than a curse, because without some of those challenges for me, I mean, I don't know what my life would look like. It's one of the reasons why I'm like encouraging my sister so much to get my nephew treated, because I don't want him to grow up with the same challenges that I grew up with, or feeling like so much of like, I think ADHD is perceived, I don't know how much you know about it, but a lot of them, like some of the lead researchers in the area are trying to get it or renamed into executive function deficit disorder, because it's more accurate to describe it that way, because the attention deficit is only the part that is visible externally, like, and it's the only part that is interrupts society. My cat. I was debating whether or not I should put the cats away. I guess I should have put them away. Yeah, but so there's a lot more symptoms that happen that are not noticeable externally. And when you grow up with those symptoms and there's so many, it's almost like, why is it called neurotypical or neurodivergent, right? Because those words don't have value judgments in them. There's nothing built into it. So a neurodivergent brain is just different from the typical, and the problems only arise when you try to make it behave like a typical brain.
Right.
So by just like in the same way that like you were saying, if it doesn't interfere with your ability to function in society, then there's nothing wrong with it. But it's the second that there's that friction where society is expecting something from you and you're not able to deliver because your brain works differently, that's when problems start to arise. And in my case, that's definitely been more problematic than an asset, I think.
Oh, I see.
The hyper focus has definitely helped.
Right, but they don't kick in all the time. This is annoying. You don't have control over that, so that's the annoying part.
Yes, exactly.
Just for the sake of time, I want to move along the interview.
Yeah,
so,
of course.
But I want to touch on the NI next, because you said earlier you wish you put the cat away, so that's planning, right?
Yeah.
So what has been your experience like working on the NI planning aspect of things?
I actually feel like my NI is stronger than my play. I mean, it makes sense. I'm a glass lizard, but even with all of that, I feel like I have, like, before I got typed, the don't control me, bro, of the NI was very strong. And there is a very, like, now that I kind of see it, I can spot it in other people really easily. So for example, I'm a software engineer, which is a traditionally male-dominated field. And one of the reasons, like, growing up, I didn't want to go into that is because there was this, like, don't control me, bro, of like, hey, I'm a woman in a male-dominated field. I don't want to be controlled by all those expectations. And like, there's this like friction towards it, right? And now understanding that like my brain focuses on it more than it is actually, it creates a bigger problem than it actually is because of the NI last. So now I'm like, oh, okay, it's not a big deal. Like, just because I'm a woman, the only woman in the room, doesn't mean that everyone is going to be doing, like, treating me worse or something like that. So it's kind of like I've been able to just put those like NI fears aside, and it definitely feels like they don't control me as much anymore. And when they do control me, I can usually spot it. Sometimes I can let it go, and sometimes it's still kind of like, I guess, controls me. I mean, as with anything. Boyo, come here. Oh my God. This is my cat, the one who's causing all the trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah, my little brat. So yeah, I don't know if that answered it.
Yeah, it sounds more like it's like if you hyper focus on the NI being a bad thing, the control, then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, and it's gonna happen more often than if you were just kind of like, oh, it's not a big deal, then it's like,
Yeah, that's well put. Yeah, exactly. Just like that. I definitely see the pushing back on wanting to narrow things down. Like locking down plans. If it's something that my FI is on board, then I will lock down those plans like immediately. If it's something that my FI is kind of like this, then I will avoid locking down those plans for so long, because I won't want to make a commitment until I know what I will feel like at the moment, if I will be in the mood to do it or not. You know what I mean? Like, I
right.
don't want to narrow down my options because I won't know how I will feel at that time. And I see myself doing that. And even when I spot myself doing it, I still can't avoid it, if that makes sense. Like, I'll notice that I'm doing it and I'll still do it anyway. In that area, there's definitely still a lot more room to grow.
Oh, at least you're aware. I think that's the most important thing, is the awareness that it's happening.
Double activated sleep. I don't lack awareness. I
That's right. That's true.
lack the ability to do after I'm aware.
Fair enough. Fair enough. That makes sense. And then the last one for this topic before we move into social types is the double masculine ST play. Like, what? So it's weird because it's double masculine, so you can see it, because you cannot not see your double masculine animal, but it's last. So how does it come out, and what are your problems with that animal per se? Like, how is it causing other people problems, and how is it causing you problems?
Well, it causes other people problems because I leave a void in that space and wait for other people to do it. There's also this element of, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but like it's very common for people with ADHD, body doubling. Have you heard of it?
You can, yeah, explain.
It's kind of just this basic idea that for some people it's easier to do when there's another person in the room. So like, even if all I have to do is get work done on the computer, if there's another person in the room also working on their computer, it becomes easier to fall into that space and to be productive.
Oh,
Or
yeah,
if
that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah, so it's something that I think probably is common for a lot of people, but I know for people with ADHD, body doubling is very, very effective. So that is one of those things that's like, why did I get into body doubling?
We're talking about play last, the SD play last, and you said that you're leaving a void. So you said that that's when you actually do it, is when you double body double.
Yes, yeah. So that's something that definitely helps. With it being double mask, it's so I'm pretty sure I've talked about this before, but it's something that I just see more and more clearly. I definitely think of the animals as a filter, in the sense that like you can't access your last animal until you access your activated animal. And it's like, as things go through each of the animals, by the time you get to your last animal, it's like this pure filtered form of it, which is why, for example, you have someone like Eminem who is blast last, and like, look at how amazing his blast is, right? Because by the time he gets to it, it's pure, it's clear, it's crystal clear. So with the play, it's kind of the same thing. And the thing that blocks me from accessing my play more than anything else is the blast. So when I'm not able to blast on a topic, I feel like I can't get to the play. But as soon as I blast on the topic, get some of that energy going with the info DOMs, I'm like, okay, cool, I got this. I have a plan. Then I can get to the play.
It's funny you mentioned that, because I tried doing some social experiment on myself when it comes to using the last animal. I remember I tried doing what the energy DOMs do, where like they'll do a bunch of work and then they go sleep right after, right? I just noticed I couldn't sleep if I did not consume first, because it's my stack is play, blast, consume, sleep. So when it's bedtime, I need to consume first, then the sleep happens after. But if I take out the consume and I go straight to sleep, I'm awake the whole night, and I'm like, it's so weird. It's so weird. I have to do a little bit of consume, at least a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the same thing. It's one of the things, and I've known this about myself since I was a kid, like long before ops ever came into my life, that like when, and again, I think the ADHD is closely intertwined here. When I get FaceTime with people and I start being able to like blast, consume kind of info dom an idea through, then I get energized by it, and then I want to like go and do something with it afterwards, right? And it's because I had a chance to blast about it. But if I'm just in consume and sleep and I can't blast, I don't have another person, some tribe to bounce those ideas off of, then that play just feels completely inaccessible. And I would argue that's probably the case for everyone with their animals. Like the idea of, just do more of your last animal. If you're not going through your activated animal first, you're going to have a hell of a hard time. And in my opinion, it's not going to be healthy either.
Yeah. Yeah, no, 100%. That's definitely true. And you might also see the backwards happening in the morning. Because for me, it's like I wake up, I don't want to blast right away. I want to consume first, and then I go to the play. So there's like a reverse thing happening where it's like play blast all the way down to consume sleep, and in the morning it's also like sleep consume on all the way to play blast. So it's like it's like I don't know if that's happening to you, but that's like what I noticed about myself. It's just like this.
It's interesting. I actually like my brain functions better in the mornings. So if I can blast play in the morning, it's always much better. But
Okay.
it's harder to access it, obviously, because like where am I going to get a chance to blast first thing in the morning? Like unless there's somebody in the house I can blast to, or I get on a call or something like that.
Right.
Although writing is a form that I've been like looking into as a way of blasting, and kind of especially with AIs and like ChatGPT, I feel like having Demon Blast, but with something like ChatGPT, it makes it so much more accessible to blast, because I can just do a brain dump to ChatGPT and then be like, hey, go like SI this shit, make it a little more clear, make the words nicer.
Right.
And then it can do it for me.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the social types now, because for the social type, can you tell us what your social type is?
Sure. Well, I'm curious. Do you have any guesses? What would you think?
I think you have Save Your Friends, and
what do you have?
You're not a number one. You're not a number one. Definitely not a number one.
I don't think I would have dropped or paused the channel if I was number one. I don't think I would have ever done that.
No, because I'm just thinking what you are. Like if I'm guessing right now, so definitely not a number one. It's hard. 2, 3, and 4. It's hard to say which one of the three there. Probably not a 3, maybe a 2 or 4. Because
remember 2 and 3. Which is responsibility? Which one is
2? I don't like the savior responsibility. I think that's stupid, in my opinion. I think it's like because number 2s are seeking independence, and then if you're the responsibility comes as a symptom of wanting independence, because only through responsibility can you have control of your life, right? To have independence. So that's why I don't like the word savior responsibility, because number 2 is independence, in my opinion. That's just my opinion, because that's the purest.
Maybe I'm not well versed enough through it. I've never heard of it through the lens of independence. So I'll have to think about that. What's the other one? I know what it is, but I forgot the word for it.
Sure. The third one is specialization, and 4 is friends.
Thank you. My head, I think of it as like artisan. So wait, which one are you?
Well, I asked Dave and Shan, and they don't know if I'm a 4 or 2. So one of those two. I think I'm a 2 because the biggest cross check is your life pile. And 2s are doing so much different shit. So for me, I work in the fitness industry for 10 years, which is true. So that's a long time, right? So that can come across as specialization, and also the YouTube channel, of course. But if you look at my job in the fitness industry for 10 years, I'm doing personal training. I'm teaching a senior class. I'm teaching people with osteoporosis. I'm teaching a spin class. I'm now a yoga certified instructor. And then on top of that, I also ran my own business in fitness, where I go to people's house and I train couples. That was before. And then on top of that, I work as a supervisor for the Canadian federal election. And on top of that, I work as a paid travel blogger, and I have my own travel blog, and I have a travel YouTube channel, and then I have personality trainer, right? And then recently I work as a recruiter, for 2 different recruiting positions. So if you look at the life pile, I was like, what the hell is all this different shit that you're doing here? And that's like, there's no specialization happening at all, right? The specialization is happening because I do have savior blast, and the animals come before the social type. That's why people feel that cognitive dissonance, which I've been feeling the cognitive dissonance, because I remember when I worked for the Canadian federal election and I supervised a team of 15 people. What's that?
You're Canadian?
I'm Canadian, yeah.
Where are you? For some reason, I thought you were in the Pacific Northwest.
I am in Vancouver, in Canada.
Okay, that's on the other side of the Pacific, or the other side of the border. Okay, anyway.
Yeah, I'm in the Pacific Northwest. So, I mean, I've driven to Seattle and Portland before, so it's not far. It's like a driving distance.
Oh, yeah, Vancouver to, you're closer to Portland than I am.
Where are you?
I'm in the Bay Area in San Francisco,
Oh,
south
San
of San Francisco.
Francisco. I see. Okay. So yeah, so like when I work as a supervisor for election, that was like the easiest job I've ever had. I had to manage a team of 15 people, and all the deciders were like so scared, but I was like, this is a joke. And then there was like thousands of voters coming in, so much chaos, right? Because I'm an EP, it's like, oh, chaos is easy, right?
Yeah, exactly. And ADHD makes chaos easy too,
Yeah.
because it's like in a crisis is when I am at my best. I hyper focus. I'm like, yes, I got this shit. Like ADHD brains, like if you think about it like evolutionarily, like hunter-gatherer times, you
Yes.
needed those fuckers with the ADHD brain because when shit hit the fan, we're the ones who aren't freaking out.
Yeah, we're
You know?
calm. Like the thing that people are
Exactly. It's like for us, it's like peaceful when everybody else is freaking out.
what's that thing that people are doing right now? It's like I have ice in my veins or some shit. Like that's like a lot of people are doing this now. I don't know. I don't know if you've seen it. Like I have ice in my veins. It's like I think people with ADHD are like, it's not like because we're calm because we want to be calm. It's just that we can only be calm when there's shit happening.
I guess, yeah, when you're talking about superpowers, that's definitely a superpower that I have. And it's one that I am like, yes, that I'm very glad that I have that ability to just like, and I think one of the reasons is because there's so much information coming in that there's no shortage of stimulation. And because one of the other problems that like ADHD brain has is because we have a hard time controlling our focus, our emotions end up, when our emotions are very loud, they help us focus and prioritize. So a crisis, your emotions are loud,
Right.
so it becomes really easy to prioritize. And you're like, boom, I know that we need to do A, B, C. Whereas everybody else might be running around with their heads cut off, like chickens with their heads cut off.
With that being said though, what's your social type?
Oh yeah. I would say I am definitely for friends. Like I'm the kind of person that if somebody calls me in the middle of the night and they're having a hard time, I will answer the phone. I've had people call me at like 7 or 8 in the morning, sobbing on multiple occasions and coming over and just like spending the day here. Like I'm the one who will show up for her friends all the time. And it's really fucking annoying. But yes, I'm definitely a four.
Well, so I'm a number two, and I love friends too. And like one of the things that I've always valued about friendship is like it's just so nice to have so many good friends, and you guys like just care about each other and stuff. It's just so nice. And then I see like the number ones and number threes, especially number threes who are like so angsty, you know. Um, and I'm like, you guys are missing out. You don't know what it's like to have a community of people that you generally care for and cares for you. And then it's like so I don't see it as like a negative thing per se. The only thing bad obviously is the lower drive as a result of it. Forces they have the least amount of drive than twos, but twos also has that as a demon. So that's the only bad thing that I see. But otherwise, I think it's like actually awesome to have the savior friends. I don't want to be a 3 or a 1, so
Well, I think like with almost anything else, there is this like this gravity, this pull towards somebody who is your opposite, right?
right.
So in the sense of like, so I'm friendship and connection, right? Being able to connect with another person. And so I have a lot of people in my life who are ones who are just like the best of the best at what they fucking do, but they're so bad at connection. So we find each other because I am able to offer them that like friendship, that connection, that community element, right? And because of their drive, they help me access my own drive and being able to pull it up, right? So I think the same thing happens in the sense that like you have what independence, as you call it, with a like I guess the secondary as your friendship. Is that how you?
The first one? Well, number two is responsibility, right? So
right.
But number twos are seeking independence, while number threes they're seeking specialization. And number ones is seeking to be the best in number and achieve, right, and status, right? So yeah, honestly though, I just when I'm thinking about number ones though, because I've interviewed like a few number ones lately, and the one thing I really like about number ones is their willingness to tap into the dark energy to motivate themselves. Because I feel like as a human being, humans are both light and dark, and if you push away the dark, it's gonna come out whether you like it or not. So I think it's actually good to purposely tap into it, and like how number one sees it is to get to the top place. It's a lot of dark energy because like other people are seen as a stepping stone to get to the next place, and the moment that person no longer serves their purpose, they jump to the next the next person who has a higher status that can propel to the next place. This is actually what number ones have said to me during my interviews with them. It's like this is gonna sound really bad. That's what they said, but this is how we're thinking and stuff. And like,
I understand that. Yeah.
But like I think that's like that's like a form of dark energy that they're tapping into, because it's if you think about it, it's actually dark to see people that way, right?
But, I mean, like if you think about like your stereotypical NTJ mastermind, like, you know, like yes, first of all, you're like stereotypical INTJ, double decider, right? And they're going to be very NI focused. And if they are a number one, they're going to be very like, I don't care who I step on. I have a goal. I'm going to fucking get it. Right. And that's like, you're very stereotypical. Like there's a reason why that mastermind stereotype archetype exists.
Right.
And there's lots of people like that. And I don't think there's anything inherently bad in it unless you hurt people along the way, if that makes sense. I think there's a way of doing it that is not harmful, if that makes sense.
I think for us, the 2s and 4s, that's how we're thinking about it. Let's not hurt anybody. For the 1s and 3s, or like the 1s especially, like they're like, if it happens, it happens. You know, that's kind of like the mentality.
I mean, yes. I don't think it's quite as black and white as that, though. I mean, yes, I think if it happens, it happens. But I don't think they... I think if it happens, it happens, and being completely unfeeling towards it is a very psychopath, sociopath kind of paintbrush to paint it with. And I think people... It's like... What makes a savior versus a demon, right? A savior is that we accept the challenges, the hard parts, the darkness that comes with that particular savior, right? So if you are a number one and you're driven, unless you're a psychopath or sociopath, you're not going to want to hurt people. You're going to try and avoid it. But if you have to, you will. Whereas somebody who's not a 1, if they have to, they might not, if that makes sense. So it's not like they're completely thinking about it in like a pure, calculated, absence of emotion kind of way. At the end of the day, we're humans. We're like hardwired to not want to hurt each other because that doesn't help us survive. But I think somebody like if it does hurt them, if it hurts somebody to get what they want, then they will do it. But if there's a way to do it without hurting someone, they'll try to avoid it. I think broadly speaking, most humans, I think most people are like that. There are, of course, exceptions. There's plenty of assholes in the world, but I think most people aren't trying to be assholes.
Right. No, that makes sense. That makes sense. I have a client at the gym I work at who's a psychologist, and I love training him because we always have this psychological conversations. So he said to me that the people who are like the most crazy, because we had a discussion before about like really bad people, about like, you know, that guy, what's his name? Something, Jeffrey Epstein, for example. You know, that, you know, so like people like him, right? And then so he said there's like 4 categories of people. The first category is someone that is pro-community and anti-violence. And then the second category is pro-community, pro-violence. And then the third one is anti-community, anti-violence. And the last one, this is the most dangerous one, is anti-community, pro-violence. So he said people like Epstein and those people are like that. Like they actually hate other people and they're pro-violence. So they're willing to hurt other people because of that belief that's kind of genetically instilled in. So, and then we also talk about narcissism, and narcissist people will hurt other people because of their insecurity. And a lot of number ones are narcissists. And
but wait, hold on. Who doesn't hurt people because of their insecurities? That's just part of being human, right? That's how we end up hurting people, is because we're trying to protect ourselves. And in the process of trying to protect ourselves, we end up hurting somebody else. That's pretty, I don't think that's particular to narcissists.
Yes, no, I get what you're saying. I'm mentioning narcissists because we're talking about the topic of number one, because narcissistic is tied with number one, not the other types. So yeah, so just with narcissism, when I was talking to my psychologist client, he was just saying that deep down inside, all narcissists hate, like they don't like themselves and they hate it themselves. And that's why they're more likely to engage in more destructive behavior and whatnot, just to fulfill that need that seems kind of...
Narcissism is a mask for deep insecurity and a complete lack of self-worth.
Which is crazy, because number ones, they have like that drive to be the best, but then if you have that like void of self-hatred or self lack of self-love, it's like, oh, it's like you can only really go as far as what you feel inside, like if you
Yeah.
feel secure, then it's like I like Kobe Bryant as an example. I don't know if you saw that interview with him in Lois' house. And like Kobe Bryant said that his dad told him when he was young, because he was really bad at basketball when he was young. His dad said, I don't care if you're bad or good at this, I still love you no matter what. And he said that they gave him the permission and the safety net to always do whatever he wants. Of course, he wanted to achieve, but because he had this unconditional love from his dad, like he was secure inside, right? So that's always like the best case scenario, obviously.
That is absolutely invaluable. And I think it's just like these past years, I've been doing a lot of growth in my mental health rather. And the way that our attachment style forms when we're young, based on whether or not we feel emotionally, physically safe, like that is absolutely, it's one of the best things that I think, no, like whether it's parents or romantic partner or whoever, the thing that comes with unconditional love is the emotional safety to fail, especially when we talk about like the Brene Brown version of like courage and failure and vulnerability. I don't know if you're familiar with all those.
Yeah,
but
not Brene Brown.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, yeah, ISTJ. Fucking anyway, I love her. Those I lost my train of thought again.
ADHD.
I know, right? Well, in this case, it's some memory problems I've been having the past couple years. But yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, yes, definitely a type 4. Yeah, for sure. A very strong pull towards type 1s. I fucking love type 1s because I think in large part I can see that they suck at connecting with other people so bad.
Yeah.
And so there's this part of me that's like, it's okay, I got you. There's this part of me that wants to be like that. And I think for the most part, obviously, it works out because I do have some amazing people in my life. I guess they choose to have me in their life for a reason, right?
It's funny you mentioned that because for me, I look at the number 3s and I'm like, oh my God, I would love to do what you do. You're just like alone working your shit for like the whole day. And then you're not responsible for anything else. That's sounds so amazing. That sounds like bliss. So I do see like the gravitational pull towards your opposite.
Yeah. In the same way that like I love NI users, especially masculine NI, because it's so different from what I have, and because my NI is so flimsy, and because since it's a demon, that means that whenever I do encounter the challenges or the darkness of NI, I run in the other direction, right? So I want to keep people around me who are willing to take on ownership for the NI so that I can run away from it, right? And that's like, I think we're all like that. We're pulled towards people who have our demons as their saviors. There's a lot of compatibility there.
I'm just gonna make a quick rant about people with NI at the bottom, and an intuition in the bottom. I mean, I went to the bank yesterday with my girlfriend, and like the banker was trying to explain something to me, and she was so sensory about it, and I was like, and I tried to like bring something up that's also within the same category, but because it's not sensory, like exactly that, she couldn't get it, and it pissed me off so much. I'm like, it's the same thing. It's in the same category. We're talking about some kind of investment stuff in here in Canada. I think it's the equivalent to your 401k in the US, but it's like our version of it. And I was like, it's the same shit. How can you not get this? Like, and it just annoyed me so much. It's like, no, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about this. I'm like, that's the same thing. So it's like, and then my girlfriend's also intuitive, right? And we're both like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And we still like the woman, obviously, but like, it was just like,
no, of course. Sometimes
it's the same shit, Like, how can you not, just because it's not sensory. Anyway.
I know what you mean. So what about you? How has like knowing your type, what's your journey been like these past 4 or 5 years?
Oh God, well, we only have a few minutes left, so I don't have time to go through the whole spiel, but like, I don't even know how to do it, long story short. I'm working on my sleep loss a lot. I'm seeing a psychologist. I have a CPAP machine now for my sleep loss. I'm working on my
for your sleep, huh?
Sorry?
No, your CPAP machine's literally for sleep.
Yeah, no, because I was looking at like the sleep loss problem. Because when I got typed by Dave and Shan, they're like, you can process your emotions. What the hell? Because I'm sleep loss, like, how are you doing it? And obviously, I've gone through a lot of hardship in my life. I don't talk about it openly in public, but I have. But you know, when I think of it as like Dragon Ball. I don't know if you watched Dragon Ball when you were a kid. No, okay, whatever. So it's a bad analogy, but anyways, in the cartoon, when those characters get hurt, they become stronger when they recover. So I've always seen it that way, where like the more painful stuff I bring into my life, the more I upgrade. So
Anti-fragility. Somebody coined that term to describe that, but it's the idea that like, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
yes,
That
yeah.
term, yeah. There's a who's his name? Jonathan Haidt talks about anti-fragility in particular as applied to like the children in our culture, where we shelter them so much from everything that they end up very weak because they haven't dealt with adversity. But it's adversity that makes us stronger.
Yeah, I'll use Enneagram as an example. So I'm an Enneagram 7, and I know some people think it's bullshit. I actually don't think it's bullshit. I think people who think it's bullshit, that's the one that's like the optimist or something, the adventurer.
Oh, okay, that's what I thought. Yeah, that's me.
But like
Okay.
I was looking, yeah, I think it's an EP thing. But so I was looking at the description, like apparently the optimist sees the world as like glass half full, but they don't look at the darkness. And I realized when I was growing up that I had trouble with genuine empathy because it's FI, right? So the more hardship I put in my life and the more bad situation I get myself into, the more I can empathize with someone else because I've already experienced a lot of hardship. And that's kind of like how it's kind of stupid with FI. I mean, we're kind of slow. We have to do it backwards. With FE, they can just empathize in the moment, right? So but for us, we have to experience it first.
I would disagree with that, but I don't think FE empathizes in the moment. Well, I mean, anyway,
no,
that's the topic entirely, but continue.
Well, no, feminine FE empathize in the moment. Masculine FE can empathize even when they're not in the same room. So there's that difference because Rose said it.
Well, empathy, I think, as a word, just people have different understandings of it. But I think of FE as feeling with you, whereas FI as I understand how you feel, if that makes sense.
No,
so like feeling with you as in like we all have to be feeling the same emotion. And that's one thing. Versus like, hey, I know what that hardship is like because I went through something similar and I know what that feeling is like in myself, but we're not feeling the same emotion. One is FI, the other one is FE. FE wants the whole room to feel the exact same emotion. That's what FE should be doing. At least the way I think of it.
Okay, so Virsaviya, this is just me being an N and you being an S. So let's just ignore this for now. Because when I said empathy, I actually meant the category empathy and sympathy together. So it's obviously I just lump it together. So you know what?
Anyway, yes.
Let's ignore this shit because otherwise we're just gonna it's the N and S stuff. But anyways, yeah, so basically for that, but like again back to the sleep last thing. It's like emotional processing. I think the thing for me was like when I was younger, I struggled with sadness, anger, and loneliness, and I conquered most of them, pretty much all of them already. But then now my because it's SIFI, right? So like the feeling that I struggle with now is frustration, and then there's also still sadness, but it's like really low now compared to the frustration. So it's like frustration, and then there's like anger and sadness, but it's like a lot lower. So that's and the way I see it now, I didn't even know I was doing this, but this is actually my system. Is like, what emotion am I feeling that I'm struggling with? How is it my fault? And what can I do about it? That's my system now. And that's how I go through everything now when I'm processing my feelings is that it's just step by step. And again, that's like the responsibility coin, right? It's like, okay, like everything is my fault. Like if this happened to me, it's my fault. And then what can I do about it? There's always something I could have done to prevent this from happening, like the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Have you read that book?
I've never read it, but I'm familiar.
Yeah, they have like they talk about like the circle of control, circle of influence, and circle of like outside your control. So really you can only work on what is within your control. The influence is like people, right? You can't control other people. So you can only influence them, right? So so you should just work on what you can control. So yes, maybe it's someone else's fault I felt this way, but it doesn't matter because like that's outside my control. That's
fault versus responsibility. Like might be somebody else's fault that it happened, but it's my responsibility for how I react to it.
Yeah, react and also what I can do in the future so I can
exactly.
Yeah, exactly what you said. So anyways, I can go on a huge tangent. There's like always I can talk about the whole process, but I got another interview coming up, so I gotta wrap this up with you.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. You have another one.
Yeah, I have like 5 today. So
Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, for those of us in the US.
yeah. Thanksgiving for you guys. Ours is in October, right? So,
Yep.
um,
Yep.
anyways, Versavia, thanks for coming out again and
It
catching
was
up with
good to
you.
meet
I know
you.
it's been so long since we last spoke, and you know what I really think is absolutely funny about our interaction is that we totally get click when we talk, but on Facebook we seem to fight and butt heads, but like on those Facebook groups.
Do we? Oh, I haven't been active on the groups
So
in a while, but
long time ago. Like, yeah,
oh yeah. Well, I also I wasn't a fan of how you came into the community because we didn't know your name, and then all of a sudden you were just like dropping marketing shit all over the place. We're like, who the fuck are you coming into our space like this? I
yeah.
think that's why. And like in the beginning, I was like, but then I got over it. I'm like, yeah, because obviously, like you're bringing amazing things to the community.
I'm just here
I,
to play. I'm
how
just
long now? And you're still at this? You're coming up on like 5 years, aren't
five
you?
years. Yeah, 5 years interviewing people. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. All right. Thanks again, Versavia. Take
It
care.
was really lovely seeing you and catching up. Yeah.
Bye
Keep
bye.
at it. Bye.